We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. Idaho says DNA testing could help enforce its transgender bathroom law. LGBTQ advocates argue the measure endangers transgender people as a federal judge reviews its legality before July 1st.
ReelShort's LGBTQ sports romance Waterboy returns with Waterboy Second Down. It reunites former lovers Caden and Donovan 3 years later, delivering romance, redemption, and football drama for fans.
An Ohio man received 25 to 29 years in prison after pleading guilty to involuntary manslaughter in the killing of transgender advocate Laura Schueler, whose loved one says justice remains incomplete.
David Furnish warns that political attacks, funding cuts, and LGBTQ+ criminalization threaten decades of HIV progress, reducing PrEP access and testing. This endangers community-led prevention, care, and global public health.
Our public school lost another pride flag after thieves cut down its flagpole, marking the second attack in a week and fueling concerns over escalating anti-LGBTQ+ vandalism. All this and important LGBTQ+ news and more this evening on Queer News Tonight. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. Analytics company vidIQ has certified the Queer News Tonight YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached over 12 million views.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida. We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in our rainbow community. There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Thursday, June 18th. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show. Happening Out Television Network is a non-profit 501c3 media company in the same model as PBS and NPR, but created for the LGBTQ community.
Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America. Hotspots Happening Out South Florida. In 2026, our magazine is celebrating 41 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 14,000 LGBTQ television stories.
We present South Florida's major LGBTQ events, including Pride Fort Lauderdale, Stonewall Pride, and Pride Fete. Our magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2026, more than 100 community leaders will sit at this table and share their voice as our anchors. Together, we host the show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet this evening's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Larry Farver. Larry has over 20 years of experience in human resources, acting, film, radio, TV, live events, parade float design, production, and casting. He is also a board member of the West Side Association. Welcome to the show, Larry.
It's good to be on the show with you, Bobby, and I'm really getting excited about Saturday's Pride.
Yes, we'll talk more about it in a second.
Great. And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Bobby Huen. A world traveler and well-versed in global affairs, Bobby provides an international perspective on current events, a PhD in conflict resolution, Bobby is a certified civil and family mediator and the founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. Welcome back to the show, Bobby.
Thank you, Larry.
How are you doing?
Great. And like you said, Pride is 2 days away. Stonewall Pride, Wilton Manors will take place this Saturday, June 20th. We are heavily looking forward to enjoy it. I believe the parade starts at 8, but there's facilities before that. Everyone is welcome, of course, and and hopefully it won't rain or be too hot.
Yeah.
We'll just, it's June in South Florida. I mean, praying for cooler weather seems to be appropriate.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm sure it'll be a great event. Signs are already there that they're setting up. They have all the decorations and everything going up, so it's exciting.
But also for practical note, please share a ride or use ride-share services or public transportation, because the traffic will be quite packed and the entirety of Wilton Drive will pretty much be blocked for vehicular access during the whole day, really.
And on the way in, Bobby and I had a conversation. Didn't you mention, Bobby, that this year they're limiting the size of any kind of bags going in, like backpacks?
Yes. If you are coming, please be aware that don't bring a giant backpack. I know people have water bottles and lotions and sunscreen and stuff, but for security reasons, all bags must be limited to basically the size of a fanny pack or small purse. So if you have friends who live in the area, dump your backpacks and bring your water bottle. But don't bring a giant bag unless it's transparent, like those festival bags you get.
Yeah.
But, we look forward to seeing you June 20th. I'll be somewhere floating around. Look for that giant Asian head. I'm Bobby Huen, and let's queer up trans rights. Idaho official says DNA testing could be used to enforce trans bathroom law. Idaho officials told a federal judge that DNA testing could be used to help enforce the state's new transgender bathroom law, which is currently facing a legal challenge. House Bill 752, set to take effect July 1st, requires trans people to use public bathrooms and changing facilities that match their sex assigned at birth. The law creates criminal penalties for people who, quote, knowingly and willfully, unquote, use facilities that do not correspond to their assigned sex, with repeat violations carrying prison sentences of up to 5 years. During a federal court hearing, U.S. District Judge Amanda Brailsford questioned how the law could be enforced when many transgender people carry identification reflecting their gender. Idaho Solicitor General Michael Zaring responded that enforcement may be possible, quote, because there is DNA testing, end quote. Representing 6 transgender Idahoans, wrong state, challenging the law, Lambda legal attorney Kel Olson argued the measure makes Idaho less safe for trans people and threatens serious and immediate harm no matter what trans people do. And that is absolutely correct. For example, if a trans woman entered a female facility or a women's bathroom, or now you're forcing them to use the male bathroom, it's essentially causing chaos for the sake of causing chaos. It is nothing but essentially persecution of trans people to force them out of any and all public spaces, including anything that needs a public bathroom. If you got to go, you got to go somewhere.
Well, and it brings up all kinds of issues. First of all, the enforcement of that, with all the budget cuts and things, you don't think there's really going to be funding out there. And I don't believe DNA testing is immediate.
No.
And secondly, many people can pass, and if they do have their preferred, gender markers on their ID, it's really unenforceable. And then to throw people who may not pass as well and force them to go to a bathroom where they're going to obviously create chaos and, be possibly victimized and beat up. And
no, there's already an epidemic of people who are, for example, cisgender women, non-trans, who dress in masculine clothing, have been harassed because Karens who have nothing better to do are accusing them of being trans people walking into women's bathrooms. There are cases where people who are less conventionally attractive according to their gender have been accused of being trans. Hell, we have been there are people just the other week and during that infamous cage fight on the South Lawn, a fighter literally called Michelle Obama a man.
Yes.
Because misgender and Texas politicians have been trying to label James Tallarica, even generate AI video of him to make him look trans, because trans is now an insult. It's not just, this has nothing to do with protecting bathrooms in any way, shape, or form. This is to basically single out a segment of population that is easily victimized. The general public is relatively ignorant of it, and you scaremonger the living crap out of everyone.
It's deflecting off what the right wing and the Trump administration is really trying to get away with.
Exactly. But when they try to push you into the trans issue while stealing all your hard-earned wages out the back pocket due to inflation, due to corruption, due to a million things that 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has something to do with. But no, look over there. There's a woman who looks like a guy who's using the bathroom.
Yeah.
I mean, just a couple of days ago, I watched on TikTok, this father, like cisgender, presumably heterosexual father, was taking his girls to use the girls' room. He was and then this male Karen, I don't know what they call male Karens, was literally screaming on the phone with police because he was inside a women's bathroom. What, you're gonna let young children, as young toddler practically, to use public bathrooms by yourself when their mother's not around to go with them?
Of course not.
Exactly.
Well,
but these people, complain, and demonize people. That's because that's all they can do.
Well, and on a positive note, just related to what we're talking about, and I'm not looking to make this story light in any way, but if you want a lighthearted take made by two wonderful transgendered women, Candace Kane and Dana Davis, I had the opportunity to be both production and a background actor in a short feature called Diaper Doll. And you can see that on YouTube. So just look it up, Diaper Doll, but it's a parody.
You know what? We should have invited Daniken.
Okay.
I mean, we're missing today. We are shorthanded, as you notice.
Yes.
Almost every Thursday we have lovely Alex Morash here with us, but he's stuck in a meeting today. Yeah. We should have replaced him with Daniken.
See that? So Candace Kane or Dana Davis or Daniken, if you're listening at Mary Productions, bring Daniken back. We need her here.
I am Bobby here, then let's queer up entertainment. Popular gay sports romance Waterboy returns with sequel season on ReelShort. The popular gay sports romance Waterboy is returning with a second season on ReelShort titled Waterboy Second Down. The vertical drama premiered June 16th and reunites stars Declan Clifford and Sky Kauai. The sequel follows former lovers Caden and Donovan 3 years after their breakup. According to the official synopsis, quote, 3 years after Caden broke Donovan's heart to protect his NFL dreams, superstar quarterback Donovan Miller is back and signed with the agency where Caden's barely surviving as an intern, end quote. The series marks ReelShort's first true sequel and continues the growing popularity of LGBTQ plus stories in the mobile-first vertical drama format. Well, first of all, for those who are uninitiated, let me just say that because it's one of those genres that some people don't know about. Vertical dramas are basically filmed in a way that you can play on the phone, like vertically, like you naturally hold your phone without pulling it horizontal. And these are usually done for apps or channels that will show you maybe 10 minutes of it, and then you watch an ad or click something, and then they will show you another 10 minutes, and they would chop it up into like 30 different segments, and you have to come back sometimes to watch it. And the genre is it's kind of entertaining. Sometimes it's a little over the top. The storylines are sometimes kind of contrived, but all generally very entertaining. Of course, the stars like Scott Kauai, I actually see him on YouTube sometimes on my For You page. So it's kind of a fun little light-hearted rom. And also, I just want to clarify that this Waterboy has nothing to do with Adam Sandler's movie Waterboy? that was like a gazillion years ago. This has nothing to do with that. But Larry, I know that you are a fan of these things. So
well, we were just sort of talking off camera before this story in preparation, and it's interesting. Once you view one, certainly the algorithms pick that up, and you're an open target. But they can be very addictive. I mean, it's a great concept, and I think with people being very busy, it's a great way to view personally. You know, you're not tied to a television.
And there are a lot of these stuff in the genre. Like there are a lot of them that have both like gay and straight version of it. They'll adopt the story like one for straight people with a pretty girl and a pretty boy, and then on the other hand, they'll co-develop a kind of gay version. In Asia, that would be qualified as BL, boys love genre, but which is very popular with women in Asia, the same way that, Heated Rivalry is really, really popular with women. When it came out.
It's great to see another sports category breaking the stereotypes down that.
I know. We need more gay sports drama. HBO and ReelShort, get on it. Also there are vampire dramas and work drama and every other drama. But, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up trans rights. Ohio man sentenced to 25 to 29 years in prison for the murder of trans advocate Laura Schueler. An Ohio man has been sentenced to 25 to 29 years in prison for the killing of beloved LGBTQ+ trans advocate Laura Schueler. 19-year-old Ajani Grimes accepted a plea deal for involuntary manslaughter nearly a year after Schueler's body was found near her home in Cincinnati's Evanston neighborhood on June 6, 2025. Prosecutors said Grimes invited Schueler into his car before she attempted to flee. He then allegedly shot her in the back of the head and left her at the scene. At the time of the killing, Grimes was reportedly out on bond in connection with a previous armed robbery case. During sentencing, family and friends described the lasting impact of Schueler's death. Her husband said the sentence was not enough, while her best friend, Martez Meadows, told the court, quote, "Whatever you do behind closed doors is going to come to light. The last thing I want to say is I hope that you rot in hell," end quote. Loved ones remembered Schueler as a compassionate advocate for the queer community. Well, it's sad, and we certainly send our love out to her husband and family and friends. But certainly justice was not properly served. I would love to know if there were any extenuating circumstances. It doesn't sound like it. No matter what reason she got in the car, no one has the right to take someone's life away.
No.
He should be sentenced for life.
Not just, yes, life, but also involuntary manslaughter. What kind of chicane, what kind of, BS is that?
I agree.
25 years to 29 years is a very long time for involuntary manslaughter, but I'm guessing that is compounded by his previous weapons charges and other things. And he's young, so 25 to 29 years isn't really a very long time. You'll come out middle-aged.
Well, and I'd like to think, and I thought that there was a trend going on where if you have multiple infractions and you're a repeat offender, eventually, you go away for life.
Well, that's three strikes law, but I can discuss the fundamental flaws of the three strikes law too, because, for example, in California, when they try to implement it, people who are convicted of shoplifting will be counted as the third strike because they're poor.
Well,
but when we're talking about justice, we're talking about people who straight up cold-blooded murder someone. It doesn't matter if they're a trans person or not, but is animus against trans people? We recently just had another case out in, I believe in Idaho again, and this time, a gay couple was beat up in Idaho, but because Idaho do not recognize sexual orientation as a protected class, there were no hate crime charges. This, once again, we are talking about LGBTQ folks, especially trans folks, basically classified as second-class victims.
No, you said exactly what wanted to say is that they minimize the value of a life because this person was trans. They're lesser than, they're stigmatized.
And that has happened throughout history in the LGBTQ struggle for equal rights. I mean, before the Matthew Shepard Hate Crime Act was enacted, a lot of times in a lot of states, just being gay can be seen by the jury as justification for murder. You got a defense attorney saying that, I'm scared the guy is going to hit on me. Hitting on the wrong person is not an excuse to murder that person.
No, because if someone was heterosexual and got hit on, certainly, and it was a heterosexual interaction, that would be not plausible at all. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up health. David Furnish warns political rollbacks threaten decades of progress in global HIV prevention. David Furnish is warning that political decisions are putting decades of progress against HIV and AIDS at risk. In an Independent Voices comment piece, the chair of the Elton John AIDS Foundation said criminalization and funding cuts targeting LGBTQ+ organizations are weakening community-led HIV prevention and care efforts. Furnish wrote, quote, I am writing this because that legacy is now at risk. The threat isn't the virus, it's politics, end quote. He also talked about long-acting PrEP options, including lenacapavir, sorry about that. He pointed to setbacks in HIV prevention, citing a 41% reduction in PrEP initiation through PEPFAR and a 4.7 million fewer HIV tests in 2025 compared to 2024. He linked today's HIV response to AIDS activism led by ACT UP and warned that growing criminalization and cuts to queer groups could undermine public health efforts worldwide. Quote, equality is not separate from public health. It is public health, end quote. Well, I applaud David Furnish and his husband's efforts through the Elton John.
I was going to say,
yes.
For those who are uninitiated, David Furnish is the husband of Sir Elton John.
Yes.
And the truth is that, and he is absolutely correct. Step backs in LGBTQ rights inevitably impact AIDS healthcare. And it is not because that, and I just want to set this straight. Most most people who are suffering from HIV are not LGBTQ. The problem is that, one, criminalization of LGBTQ people, especially some of them they attempt to do right here in the United States. Some of them are doing their work in Africa, in other third world countries. We are talking about people or developing countries, pardon me. The stigma of being LGBTQ is enough to drive people away from public health services. And in countries where they are literally criminalizing identifying as LGBTQ, I mean, there's Uganda, Ghana, and other African countries, for example, which are heavily pushed by American evangelical groups in order to stigmatize LGBTQ people. You are basically setting back public health by driving a significant portion of people who could have had their lives saved and away from them, and that doesn't mean that they stop having sex. That just means that they are no longer seeking public health treatment. Moreover, in the same vein, when these organizations try to essentially label HIV/AIDS as just a gay disease, people are going to basically avoid treatment because on one hand, the government is literally saying that if you just call yourself gay, you're going to jail, and then calling the virus a gay disease means that people are not going to go seek it, even if you're straight. Even if you're straight, you're never going to seek testing, you're going to seek treatment, because just walking into a testing center is probably enough to label yourself. Basically the equivalent of draping a rainbow flag over your shoulder and put a giant target on your back.
Yeah, but and we certainly need to make sure we vote in this November's election and anytime we can, because it's so important, and we need to work as a community and be unified and not just be part of the alphabet, the entire alphabet, including our allies. I go in and I'm a regular thrifter, so you'll see me out of the closet in both
I was just
Fort Lauderdale and Wilton Manors. But there are people across the spectrum. Not everyone that goes there for consultation for either testing for HIV or STIs is necessarily gay.
It is open. AHF is
Absolutely.
not. AHF do not discriminate based on your sexual orientation. They make testing for all. The whole point is that the more people get tested, the better we can address the public health crisis.
Yes.
The more we stigmatize, the more we try to force a portion of the population away from public health services, the more likely the virus will spread. The same way that, people who are resistant to vaccines are more likely to spread other type of virus, from measles to COVID, outward
Absolutely.
to other people. And virus don't discriminate because of whatever identity you choose. Virus are virus. They don't choose who to infect. So be careful, get tested. I'm Bobby here, and let's queer up the worldview. Ontario's school pride flag stolen after flagpole cut down in second vandalism incident in 1 week. Community members in Norwich, Ontario, Canada are expressing concern after a pride flag at Emily Stowe High School was targeted for the second time in just 1 week. According to reports, 2 unidentified suspects cut down the school's metal flagpole Saturday night and stole the pride flag that has been flying from it. The incident follows an earlier act of vandalism earlier this month when a pride flag at the school was removed and set on fire. Thames Valley District School Board said in a statement to parents, quote, "The pride flag is a visible reminder that the 2S LGBTQIA+ identities are affirmed and that belonging matters. There is no place for hatred and discrimination in our school community." Police have identified the suspects as 2 thin white males believed to be in their late teens or early 20s. Residents say pride-related vandalism has become a recurring problem. Norwich resident Jeff told CTV News, quote, "It's every year, and it escalates every year. It gets worse," end quote. Norwich reportedly experienced 4 pride flag theft or vandalism incidents last year, with similar cases also reported in 2022 and 2023. Now, if this is a TikTok, I would have inserted that graphic of Tyra Banks saying, "We're rooting for you," because Canada, what the hell? Canada, the place where, we got queer hockey drama and, when everyone's friendly and everyone says sorry, we need to do better. Oh, you need to do better. Sorry. I know we're based out of Florida and, it's like pot calling the kettle black or throwing stones in the glass houses. But I hope that we can do better for the community in Ontario. And this is also essentially terrorizing the LGBTQ student body inside that school. Absolutely. Basically saying that you don't belong. We're going to destroy your identity. We're going to make sure that you are not represented or visible. And by the way, the 2S stands for Two Spirits, which is a very Canadian designation. I do not know a lot about it, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But Larry, what do you think of this vandalism stuff?
Well, it's a shame that they can't catch the 2 suspects. It must have been.
Probably.
We'll assume that there's footage, but it's a shame. I agree with you. I think of Canada being a little more progressive when it comes to LGBT community, and certainly two-spirited people, which I applaud them, including that. Certainly, I think there's more of a recognition and reparation in terms of honoring, Indigenous peoples of the Canadas versus what we did in our own country, which I grapple with at times myself.
Well, there's a pretty ugly history with Indigenous people in Canada too. They call them First Nations, but yes,
and you can look at the parallels, where. A force that came up and colonized, and we could go on and on about that subject, but our thoughts go out to the students at that school. Hopefully the school can right and correct the flagpole and remediate better security in the future so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? We ask. These people are asking for more security, but more security does not equal safer. It just means, in now dystopian times, it just means more surveillance, more more people who need to be vigilant. It shouldn't be that way. We should be a community that trusts other people in the community.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I was raised that you wouldn't even dream of doing that but we're in a different time now.
Yeah, that's true. These are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. Our anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ family. If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family.
Don't forget to join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and in sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Bobby Huen, and I thank you for joining us on behalf of my fellow anchor here at Queer News Tonight, Larry Farver. We'll see you daily at 8 p.m. to our LGBTQ+ world. We wish you good night.